I'm gonna make a full video for Lethal Weapon 2 because I have a lot to say about it. I'm gonna give it a good time out of 10.
I'm gonna fuck your ass.
I love Lethal Weapon 2, man. It's so bad and stupid, but I think that's why I like it so much.
What? I love garbage.
It's a good ass time, and we just don't get movies like this anymore.
Come on, we're back! We're bad. You're black. I'm mad.
It's good because it's not clear exactly what the hell it means.
This movie tries to be so many things at once, and just like Poe, it's all of them. It's an action film. It's a comedy. It's a political thriller. It's a deep state CIA hit piece. Wait, what? Things just kind of happen in this movie, and there's really no other way to let you know what I mean than to just show you.
Let's get rolling. I want to get into some garbage.
So anyway, the movie starts like this. Fuck yeah, right in the action. Don't worry how that car blew up, by the way. All cars in the Lethal Weapon universe are powder kegs set to explode at the slightest inconvenience. The driver of this car was probably just going about his day, but he just so happened to be in a Lethal Weapon movie. Oh well. We're introduced to Riggs and Murtaugh, two LAPD detectives played by Mel Gibson and Danny Glover respectively. Riggs is the younger, loose cannon, and Murtaugh is the tired, by-the-book vet a week from retirement. I'm not joking, by the way. Those are the most apt descriptions of each of their characters, but these films basically invented those stereotypes, so I'll let it slide. Riggs pulls out this move to dodge some incoming fire from an SMG. Wow, look at that immaculate form, weaving in between the bullets like Neo, ripped straight out of the Detroit Threat Management Handbook. How can the Apartheid regime even go on when they know this is the force they're up against? Okay, where was I? Oh, right. Then Riggs attempts to chase down the enemy convoy on foot. A brilliant decision that should tell you everything you need to know about his character. The chase ends with a bunch of cops and civilians dead, and all the bad guys having escaped. Oh well, at least we get this little moment. The captain, who looks exactly like the CDC guy from The Walking Dead, is bitching because Riggs and Murtaugh suck at their job. But he isn't even mad they got a bunch of cops and innocent bystanders killed. He's upset that they're costing the department too much money and collateral damage. No one seems to care about the dead cops for that matter. Right after this, we get some more Riggs shenanigans, and no one seems to give a fuck that like half of their friend group was just burnt to a crisp by the South African cartel.
So when he died, we didn't really give a fuck about him. We cremated him.
Riggs dislocates his elbow to escape from a straitjacket. You might be asking what prompted him to do this. He just really wanted to, I guess. I'm being totally serious, by the way. It's implied that he just did this to settle an argument. This is a setup for later in the film, but it just kind of happens out of nowhere. Like we're just thrown into it. The other cops are even placing bets on if he's going to be able to do it or not.
It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
Oh yeah, a young Hank Schrader is in this movie. He dies, so don't get too attached.
You sussy baka.
There's actually a lot of parallels between this and Breaking Bad, but we'll talk about that later when it becomes more apparent. Then we get a scene where the egg from Puss in Boots kills one of his henchmen to show how evil he is. This is our main villain, by the way, and he's built like a fucking bowling ball. Even though he's the main villain, I have no idea what his name was, so we're just gonna call him Harvey for now. This name will make sense later, I promise. His little side bitch that pulled the trigger, who looks like if Bertram from Jesse got on Ozempic, we're gonna call that guy Alfred, because I also have no idea what his name was, and he is like Alfred the Butler, but if, instead of using his money to fight homeless people, Bruce Wayne used his wealth to subjugate the population of South Africa. Right after this, we cut to Riggs talking about his dead wife, a very serious and somber moment, with this music playing behind it. They don't make them like they used to, man. It's so hard to take any moment seriously in this film when they're constantly blaring that dumbass saxophone and electric guitar during every emotional scene. The South Africans break into Murtaugh's house and tie him up with duct tape. They threaten the lives of him and his family, and then just leave. Like, they tell him to stop following them, but like, he wasn't. And then they all just scamper away. They really overestimate how much Murtaugh values the lives of himself and his family, because this whole incident does not faze him at all. The next morning, the captain assigns Riggs and Murtaugh to go babysit an informant for him, because it's literally the only job they can't fuck up and put innocent people in harm's way. Or so it would seem. It's here that Joe Pesci is introduced. He plays the aforementioned informant Leo Getz. Joe Pesci is easily the best thing in Lethal Weapon 2. He steals any scene he's in, and he's also the only character in the whole movie who has an actual arc. The movie treats him like a stereotypical, cowardly comic relief character, when in reality, he isn't. First of all, everyone here is a comic relief. Even the main villain is a friggin' goober.
Diplomatic community.
Pesci is just way more blatant in his delivery.
They fuck you at the drive-thru, okay?
And second, his whole thing is that he's a candy ass and he's an anchor that's tied to the feet of our main duo. When in reality, Leo is the only character in this whole movie that behaves like a normal person. Take his very first scene for example. Riggs and Murtaugh are tasked with protecting Leo from the ops trying to fry his ass, but they suck at their job, so they immediately let in an assassin through the door because they're too busy eating Leo's food. When the assassin pulls out the blick, Leo sees that shit coming from yesterday and blocks his arm. Riggs and Murtaugh take a century to react, and instead of shooting the guy, Riggs decides to tackle all of them through the window of the 13th floor hotel room they're in, which should have gotten them all killed, had there not been a massive pool with no one in it placed conveniently right where they were falling. Then, after they land, Riggs starts beating the fuck out of Leo, believing he was the assassin, giving him a bloody nose and probably a concussion. The assassin gets away, and our main duo gets annoyed when Leo starts bitching to them, and the movie treats it like they're in the right. It's a running joke in these movies that everyone is just a dick to Joe Pesci for absolutely no reason. Everyone wants to kill him, and even the people tasked to protect him occasionally try to murder him because they find him so annoying. Riggs is also moving like prime Vontaze Burfict, giving Leo CTE every chance he can. Leo's the only person who can actually incriminate the South Africans, so having him physically able to testify might be a little bit important. I don't know, Riggs. In the next scene, Leo explains money laundering, and it's literally just the scene from Breaking Bad where Saul explains the same exact concept to Jesse. The character of Saul Goodman was definitely influenced, at least in part, by Joe Pesci's performance in this movie. Joe Pesci brings such a lively energy that was missing in every scene without Riggs. Also, he's pretty fucking funny.
Come on. Everybody cheats a little bit. Look at the Pentagon.
Side note, while rewatching the movie for this video, I timestamped all the moments I thought were mention-worthy. I color-coded them so red was dumb shit, blue was Riggs shenanigans, and green was stuff I unironically enjoyed. As you can imagine, almost all the timestamps were either red or blue. However, for the few green timestamps, moments I unironically enjoyed, all of them, except for one, were just jokes Joe Pesci said that I thought were funny. Without any hyperbole, he is the best part of this movie. Okay, next scene.
Come on, we're back. We're bad. You're black. I'm mad.
That was really bad.
What are you doing?
Oh, just checking to see if I was standing on plastic.
I take it back, this movie is perfect. Everyone is just so sassy in Lethal Weapon. Like, Alfred knows Harvey is willing to kill his henchman, but he says this anyway, risking his own life just to dunk on his Margaret Thatcher-looking ass. Moving on, the fellas come up with a plan to investigate this house that Leo said he was brought to one time. Turns out Leo is testifying against the same South African cartel the fellas have been fighting against the whole movie.
It is pretty unbelievable.
It's not believable at all.
At all.
Side note, this house is built on stilts like the house from BoJack Horseman. Just remember that, it'll be important later.
There's no bloody pool here, man.
Of course there's a pool. Do you think I'd be here if there wasn't a
built
pool?
on stilts.
That would have been good to know. Riggs does some classic breaking and entering and starts slamming out some random guards. We see the same assassin from the hotel, and he steals a tow truck and drives off. So naturally, Riggs chases him down on foot and... Wait a minute. Rewind that. That can't be.
Ooh, wait!
I'm a dumbass. I had no idea this movie took place in LA. Probably because Boston's on top, baby. Fuck the Lakers. So anyway, after some more Riggs shenanigans, the chase scene ends with this happening.
It is pretty unbelievable.
It's not believable at all.
At all.
Riggs and Murtaugh come face to face with Harvey and Alfred for the first time. Turns out Harvey is a diplomat for the South African government, so he's untouchable.
You could not even give me a parking ticket.
Harvey has full immunity because of international law. Riggs, being opposed to the Geneva Convention from the start, is absolutely pissed, but on his way out he's still able to spit some game to Harvey's secretary.
I'm leaving here with something.
The fellas get back to the station, and the captain calls them out for bringing Leo along with them on their field trip. Rightfully so, because they brought the protected witness right to the people he was testifying against. Then we get, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but earlier, there was a whole thing about how Murtaugh's oldest daughter, Rianne, starred in a condom commercial.
Condoms.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
This movie is very episodic. We go from sequence to sequence with the scriptwriters trying their best to tie it all together. It feels like the director just improvised completely new material on the day of shooting once they got to a new location. It's almost like that's what actually happened. Speaking of Murtaugh's daughter, there's also this weird romantic tension in all of her interactions with Riggs, in literally every one of these movies. Yes, I said all of them, even the first one when she was just a teenager. The other characters even comment on the prospect of them being together. Thank God it's played off as a joke most of the time, because I do not think I could handle another Jerry Seinfeld situation. What is the deal with Fetty Wap? When he says 1738, how does he know she's 17? And I'm 38. Okay. Even It's Always Sunny made fun of this aspect of the series in their highly problematic Lethal Weapon parody episode.
Crazy enough to want to know why you never RSVP'd to my wedding.
Sergeant Murtaugh, Sergeant Riggs.
All right, you in. I see you've played knifey spoony before.
Next, we get Harvey spitting some absolute harassment to his secretary. Harvey is trying to leverage his position of power to enter into a romantic relationship with an employee of his. Really living up to the namesake, isn't he?
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Yes, sir, brother.
His secretary is kind of important, but I forgot her name, so we'll just call her Monica Lewinsky. Next, we get a little montage of Riggs stalking Harvey while he's going about his life. Like this dude is leaving the tennis court, and Riggs shows up to just, stare at him. I don't know. Then he's stuck in traffic, and Riggs shows up to stare at him. Then he's dealing with protesters, and Riggs shows up to stare at him and, and join the protest. This is funny for two reasons. First, I mean, come on, this is hilarious. Look at his fucking face. But second, Riggs thinks this guy is like a mob boss, basically. So if he isn't going to be fazed by Riggs showing up to stare him down like he's on a UFC title card. So what Riggs is doing makes no sense. But also, if Riggs was wrong about this guy, and he was just an innocent ambassador who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, he would legitimately be scared shitless at this fucking crackhead detective following him everywhere he goes. Riggs is like the do the dance with the pants guy, but if he always had a gun on him and was legally allowed to kill you if he wanted. The majority of Riggs' shenanigans in the second act consists of him harassing women in public and just letting the bad guys know that he knows they're evil. He can't do anything about it though, so he just orchestrates these elaborate ruses just for him to get the opportunity to walk up to the South Africans and go, "Oi, I know you guys traffic drugs, dickhead." Okay, see you later. Like the fucking fish tank scene. But we'll talk about that later on, because it deserves its own segment. Then, Danny Glover shits so hard his house explodes. Anyway, next we got... Actually, no. I unironically really enjoyed the toilet bomb sequence. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, next we got the fish tank sequence, and it starts with this beautiful exchange.
Because you're black. You are. He is.
Come on, I'm sorry. That's just perfect delivery. There's really only one way that line could work, and Joe Pesci absolutely nailed it.
You are. He is.
So the plan here is for Leo and Murtaugh to stage a scene at the South African embassy to draw the security guards. Mind you, Leo is currently on the run from the very same South African cartel that inhabits this building. They do all this so Riggs can hit this smooth roll, holy shit, and sneak into the bad guy's office, just so he can talk shit to them, beat their asses, and shoot their fish. Wait, what? Yeah, so I guess the bad guys have an aquarium posted up in their evil lair. It's kind of sick, honestly. Riggs shoots the aquarium and the whole thing explodes onto the floor. They must have gotten their fish tank from the same people that sold that one to the restaurant at the beginning of Mission Impossible 1. But the best part is, the South Africans lose their fucking minds, and I shit you not, they start doing CPR to the fish to try to save them from suffocating. The drug trafficking murderers are distraught, brought to tears at the prospect of their pet fishes dying. Then, on his way out, he says this.
If you stick around here, I'm gonna fuck your ass.
Whoa, okay. And then he goes and spits some absolutely diabolical game to Monica Lewinsky, the chick that told Harvey to kick rocks. What a power move. What a fucking guy.
I'm gonna send you home with your balls in a sling.
Afterwards, Riggs uses his stalking skills once again, but this time to spit some more game to Monica. He fully admits to having followed her from work to the supermarket, and it doesn't faze her at all. She's actually totally into it. This man can do no wrong. Actually, maybe not, because she really does not want to go have dinner with Riggs. I think she tells him no upwards of like 8 times, but he will not take no for an answer, and sort of forces her to go with him, but let's not worry about that. I guess Riggs really did go too far when he killed Harvey's pet fish, because Harvey took that shit personally. He decided to kill Hank along with all the other side character cops, but Riggs is too busy having sex with Monica Lewinsky to notice. It really doesn't matter at all, to the point where I legitimately forgot this scene even existed until I rewatched the movie while writing this video. Which is weird, because this is a scene where like half the cast gets executed IRA style while running some poker. That was easily the worst sin the South Africans committed the whole movie. Fucking up poker night with the fellas. The way it plays out is also kinda goofy, at least for a scene that should, carry some weight, because a bunch of cops just got murdered. It almost feels like 2 completely different visions clashing together, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The thing with Lethal Weapon 2 is that it would probably be my favorite movie ever if I had just never seen a movie before. That really doesn't sound right, but for example, in the first act they established that Murtaugh was building an expansion on his house. How he can afford making his mansion into an even bigger mansion on a cop's salary, I'll never know. But anyway, they set up this construction worker's nail gun. And if I'd never seen a movie before, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. But since I have seen at least like 5 movies, I know that, oh, Murtaugh's gonna use that later to kill someone. And sure enough,
Nailed them both.
And I guess the construction worker from earlier just left his loaded nail gun on the worksite, which he knows several children have access to. I'm sure OSHA just loves this guy. Anyway, the South Africans decide to ambush Riggs when he's in action with Monica, a generational cockblock to say the least. Riggs and her hop down this doggy door Bugs Bunny style, but when we cut to them underneath the house, they're army crawling. So how'd they have enough space to dive headfirst like that? Whatever, that doesn't matter, because my boy Riggs hits this ult move which somehow kills all the assailants at once. They get away, and Riggs drops the shorty off at her crib. He secures a second date, but the South Africans have followed him, and Alfred kidnaps Riggs. Alfred tells Riggs that he was the one who killed his wife. I like this twist a lot. I think it raises the stakes and heightens the motivation Riggs has for killing these guys. Then, the South Africans chain up Riggs and toss him into the ocean. Turns out the deep state finally got to Monica. Holy shit, this lady cannot catch a fucking break. She just so happens to be a secretary for a crime lord who's a total creep to her, and the one time she tries to be romantic with someone, it ends up with her being waterboarded to death by her coworkers. Alfred is a generational cockblocker. He killed Riggs' first wife, and when he found out Riggs was getting some action on the low, he had to take out the side hoe as well. As established before, no prison or straitjacket can hold my boy, so he escapes, and calls Murtaugh, telling him how he's going after the South Africans. It's personal now.
The stakes are very high. This is high-stakes stuff.
We cut to the South Africans, who are torturing Joe Pesci, and my goat doesn't say shit. This was Leo's character arc. He grew a pair of balls. Congrats to him. That's my boy. And with the power of a Ford F-150 and friendship, Riggs is able to bulldoze the stilts on the BoJack Horseman house and kill everyone there who wasn't a main character. I was going to have a segment where I ranted about how this makes no sense, and nothing like that could happen in real life, but in hindsight, this is probably the least weird thing Riggs does in the whole movie, so it gets a pass. And we still haven't even gotten to the climax. This isn't even the last time we see a car do something far beyond what it's physically capable of. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. We get a sweet little moment of the fellas as Leo has to say goodbye to Riggs and Murtaugh. Now, the boys are on their own again, just like old times. Here's the climax of the film, and I'm just going to tell you exactly what happens step by step, and I hope you know I'm making none of this up. This is exactly how it goes down in the movie. Okay, so Murtaugh figured out that the South Africans were planning on moving all their money onto a boat that's bound for South Africa.
Not a great plan.
So him and Riggs are going to stop it. They break into the shipping container with all the cartel's money.
Billions, fucking Donald Trump lotto.
But Harvey and the fellas find them and lock them in the shipping container. So Riggs and Murtaugh will just end up starving to death. It seems like all hope is lost for the boys, right? But then, while loading the container onto the ship, this happens. Okay, so apparently, there was a car in the container too, for some reason. And also this car was equipped with a body and engine sculpted by the gods.
The Golden God!
Because somehow, Riggs was able to get it from a stationary position to ram into 12 full pallets worth of paper money, to still generate enough force to break the wall of the container clean open and still buy enough time for Riggs to jump out at the last second so he doesn't die. So yeah, the fellas are free on the boat, and it's open season for the boys. They're gunning down South Africans left and right. It was so easy for Riggs that in between shots, he cured this guy of all his bullet wounds just so he could kill him twice. This is also one hefty mag, because I counted 17 shots before Riggs had to reload the blicky. They just don't make pistols today the way they did in the 80s. Then Riggs uses 10% of his power on some random goon, sending him straight to hell with not one, but 2 somersaults. Then Alfred sneaks up on Riggs like this. Oh my god, the knife throw, the run up, and punting Riggs' head, all accompanied by the dude in the back going absolutely ballistic on some bongos. Alfred starts going to work, beating Riggs' ass. But Riggs starts fighting back, and I'm not gonna lie, he's getting in some good licks, even stabbing Alfred with his own knife. But it looks like Riggs is gonna spare Alfred's life as he gets up to walk away. And as he's walking away, Alfred pulls out his gun ready to shoot Riggs. Oh yeah, he's had a gun this whole time. Alfred is such a hater, he could have just shot Riggs dead there, but actively chooses to just embarrass Riggs for no reason like that. It wasn't enough to kill his wife and his side bitch, he had to take away his pride as well. Side note, but it's kind of a theme for the bad guys to forego shooting the main characters and instead decide to tuck the stick and beat their ass. The same exact thing happens to Murtaugh twice during the nail gun scene, and every time it happens it leads to the bad guy dying. So yeah, it turns out Riggs wasn't going to spare Alfred's life, and right before Alfred can shoot him, Riggs pushes the button to drop a shipping container on Alfred, turning him into Flat Stanley. Riggs meets back up with Murtaugh, who's done nothing this whole time, and it looks good for the fellas until Harvey lets that choppa sing and snipes Riggs from across the map. Then, Harvey forgets how a gun works and is surprised when the clip runs out. Alfred must have forgotten to pick up the max ammo before he died. Rookie mistake. Now Murtaugh is in quite the predicament here, because he has Harvey at gunpoint, but this guy is a foreign ambassador, so Murtaugh physically can't harm him or it would be an act of war. Jeez, what a dilemma. I wonder how Murtaugh is going to get himself out of this pickle. Oh, he just shot him. That was easy. That kind of ruins the movie if they could have just done that the whole time, but at least the line he drops right after offing him goes hard as fuck.
It's just been revoked.
Oh my goodness! That's the most badass thing I've ever heard.
And Harvey had his whole ID out before getting headshotted. My guy went out like a bitch. Diplomatic immunity.
Okay.
Then we get this tender scene of Murtaugh holding a bleeding out Riggs in his arms. Riggs has been shot, stabbed, tied up, drowned, and probably a lot more if we're being honest. And after everything he's been through tonight, both physically and emotionally, he's here, dying in the arms of his best friend, the only person alive he's able to call family. So we just get this tender moment between the two.
Yeah, what? You really are a beautiful man.
Oh, so he's gonna live. I don't know. I guess he just really wanted to not bleed out, and so he isn't now. Well, that's nice we have him sticking around, especially if we want to make a third movie, or a fourth, or what about a fifth, this one with an AI Christian Bale.
And he's too old for this.
Remember when I said that all but one of the moments I unironically enjoyed was related to Joe Pesci? Well, this is the one that had nothing to do with him. I like this ending shot. It looks pretty, and I like the song they play. I guess Eric Clapton worked on the soundtrack, which, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Okay, now that we're all on the same page, time for the actual video to begin. That's right, fellas. There's still so much left to talk about. The production history of this movie was absolutely crazy. Shane Black, the creator of the first Lethal Weapon, initially wrote the first draft of the script. This was an entirely different movie than the one we ended up getting. It was way darker, with scenes of main characters being tortured to death. Apparently, there was a scene of a plane full of cocaine getting destroyed, leading to cocaine falling down on Los Angeles, quote, like snow, end quote. And at the end, Riggs was supposed to die, sacrificing himself to save Murtaugh and his family. Apparently, everyone who read the script loved it, except for the studio and the director, who thought it was too dark, which it probably was. Shane Black, the creator of Lethal Weapon, left the project after his script was rejected. The story was retooled to be more lighthearted, with more jokes, quick or off-screen deaths, and a whole lot more Joe Pesci. Yeah, in the original script, Leo Getz had only 1 or 2 scenes, and that was it. If one good thing came from the studio interference in Lethal Weapon 2, it's this. Also, they had to keep Riggs alive for future sequels. The idea of Riggs dying was so prevalent in the production of the movie that they shot 2 endings, one where he died and one where he didn't. The test audience didn't like the idea of Riggs dying, so they went with the other option. However, the ending shot we got was actually from the cut of the movie where Riggs died, but with different dialogue dubbed over it. Before and during filming, the new writer they brought on had to constantly rewrite the script because the director kept improvising scenes out of his ass and demanding changes to the original script. One of these changes he demanded was killing off Monica Lewinsky, as the original rewritten ending was supposed to be Riggs and her eating Thanksgiving dinner with Murtaugh and his family. Like the Joe Pesci change, I like this one a lot. But damn, there is still a part of me that wishes we got Shane Black's original, untampered version of the film. He described it as, quote, the best thing I ever wrote, end quote. And yeah, that's about it. Nothing else of controversy happened within the movie. Nope. Nothing else of note. Okay, I'll talk about Apartheid.
Okay, Jesus Christ, I don't know what's going on here.
If you've seen Lethal Weapon 2, you know there's one aspect of the plot I kind of neglected to mention so far. And if you haven't seen the movie, you might be really confused. I've mentioned it briefly when talking about the villains, but these guys are all South African diplomats. I'm not going to go into the history of apartheid, but basically, there was some pretty crazy racist shit going down in South Africa during the 80s, with their effects still felt today in the world. And with all this going on in the time period, the makers of Lethal Weapon 2 decided that they would be the ones to throw their hat into the ring to tackle this issue once and for all. Did it succeed in being a serious political commentary? I mean, sort of. It's very unique, I'll put it that way. At the very least, it brought a lot of attention to the issue, which is actually doing a lot more than you might think. And the main villain being someone protected by diplomatic law is very creative, subversive, and memorable, even if he ends up just dying anyway. Not to mention, Harvey's entire evil plan was to fund his overseas interest by peddling drugs into urban communities within major American cities. Sound familiar?
I believe you should try to win back the marketplace with a more competitive business model.
Was this intentional? Was this sheer luck that the main villains mimicked the exact behavior of the CIA during the Reagan administration, precisely when this movie was in production? I think it was a bit of both. Harvey wasn't just a ginger Ronald Reagan. I don't think this was a CIA hit piece by any means, but it does raise an interesting way to look at Lethal Weapon 2 as a film. And really, a lot of films from the past as well. Lethal Weapon 2 is like a time capsule for the late 80s, the supposed best decade in American history, and just like that decade itself, Lethal Weapon 2 is over the top, loud, and full of fun. But underneath the surface, it is disjointed, full of holes and mistakes, and most importantly, lacks any real substance.
It's miraculous. Fuck.
Despite everything I just said, I just don't care. I love this movie regardless. If you're looking for like a number score, sorry, I don't do that because I don't think a single number could express my feelings about this film, or any film for that matter. I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10 and move on to the third one. Okay, except for then. 6.5 out of 10, solid time. And then, 7.5 out of 10. Okay, never mind. Lethal Weapon 2 and Terminator 2 were honestly the 2 action movies of their generation.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
While the latter is obviously the better film, and therefore had a much greater lasting impact, Lethal Weapon 2 remains as one of the most influential films of its time. It was even nominated for an Oscar back in the day. Yes, this movie was nominated for an Oscar. The Oscar was for sound design, which makes a lot of sense. After all, they apparently had some dude named Taj Soundworks running Foley for them. That's like if Tom Brady's real name was Billy Pigskin. Just end the game right there. I give up.
Okay. They fuck you at the drive-thru, okay?
Mention this scene to literally anyone who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and you're sure to trigger an episode of PTSD. It's really cool that, through film, you're able to see how culture has shifted and evolved throughout the years. Because this was the funniest shit ever in the late 80s, but I really don't think this joke would have any kind of cultural impact if it dropped today. And I don't think that's a hot take, it's just a testament to the changing tides of culture, and how we build on the past. The Lethal Weapon films basically invented the buddy cop genre, or at least popularized it. It's very possible that, without Lethal Weapon, we never would have gotten True Detective or The Nice Guys, which was also created by Shane Black, and we definitely wouldn't have gotten The Other Guys, which is basically just a parody of Lethal Weapon, in the same way that Mega Man is a parody of the superhero genre. I'm also pretty sure this film influenced at least some of the aspects of Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad is basically just this story but from the opposite perspective. As I mentioned before, it's almost down to the letter. Leo Getz is just a diet Saul Goodman. Like the original version of Saul we get in Breaking Bad before seeing his backstory, they're the exact same person, down to both of their names being a pun. The only difference is that instead of Bob Odenkirk, it's Joe Pesci. Like, imagine if instead of what we got, Jimmy ratted on the cartel after the events of Better Call Saul, with Hank and Gomi having to take care of him over the course of 3 movies. And he slowly befriends them and their families, even though they only treat him like shit, and put him in harm's way. That's basically Joe Pesci in the Lethal Weapon series. Kind of. Okay, not really. Lethal Weapon 2 is the definition of lightning in a bottle. It's just oozing fuck yeah energy. So many factors came together to make an absolute roller coaster of a film. I'll shit on the director and studio interference as much as I want, but as much as I do that, I can't deny that they knew how to make one entertaining-ass movie. If I ever see Lethal Weapon 2 on the TV while scrolling channels, I'll have to drop everything and watch it. And there's really only like one other film that also applies to. The plot structure being so episodic means you can start from basically anywhere and be entertained, because they are constantly rattling off new ideas and sequences. If you haven't seen it, watch it for yourself, I beg you. It's just so much fun, and you can tell that the crew had such a good time making the movie. It really shows through. However, this movie can be like a fever dream to watch today with Rewind. When they were making this movie, they did not know that people in the future could just pause and rewind whatever part of the movie they wanted. Take this scene for instance. So we got the fellas chilling in Murtaugh's house. We got Murtaugh's family, plus Riggs and Rianne's boyfriend. 2 separate people, thank God. After they watched that condom commercial I talked about before, Rianne and her boyfriend dip to go hang out or something. So they leave, and it's just Riggs and Murtaugh left in, I'll repeat it, Murtaugh's house. Then, for a reason that is never explained, Murtaugh just gets up and walks out the front door. And not only that, Riggs slams the door shut on him, in his own house. And again, they never explain why Murtaugh does this. I know why it's in the movie, because the director wanted to end this scene with Riggs saying some quip and then closing the door and smiling to himself alone. But in the context of the movie, I'm just left confused as to why this even happened. It was like 10 p.m. Where could Murtaugh even be going? It's a school night. It would make sense if it was the other way around, like if it was Riggs leaving Murtaugh's house because, that isn't his house. But I guess the director just really wanted that moment of Riggs looking off into the distance. Okay, I'm done. And shit like this happens all the time in Lethal Weapon 2. Like at the very least, once every scene you'll get a moment that will make you go, wait, what? How did that happen? Why did he do that? When this film was made, these continuity errors wouldn't have mattered, because they go by too quickly to notice if you're sitting down in a movie theater watching this for the first or second time, and even if you do notice it, you'll probably forget it by the time the next scene rolls around. But when I'm watching it on my phone, if I notice it, I can pause and rewind and put this blunder in a YouTube video for the world to see. As mentioned in the intro, Lethal Weapon 2, it's a lot of things, but almost all of it is enjoyable, one way or the other. Whew, that was a lot. The script for this video was like 23 pages long. I've had this video in the works for almost a year now, and you may be thinking, well, how is that possible when you saw it for the first time in May for the Movie Month Challenge video?
I lied.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch it for the first time in May. I'm sure that the 24 people who saw that video will have my head for that betrayal. But moving on, that's all I got for you fellas. Have a good one.